Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. Just a quick thought for you today. I think that the American Empire is going to be possibly, and I say possibly, there may be a couple more, it may be the last empire. That doesn't mean that humanity is going to go extinct. It just means that the current system that we have requires that the ruling empire, which is the United States, must be in a constant state of war. So let me explain. What happens with anything, whether it's a human being, a corporation, a company, a nation, is it goes through a lifespan. And throughout that lifespan, there's growth, there's peaks, it reaches its prime, then it slowly starts to, maybe it maintains for a while, then it slowly starts to degrade to the point of deterioration and then death. This is a natural life cycle of all things. Now, in Western society, because of the Christopher Columbus complex, what I mean by that is that there's this expansionist mindset that underlies all of our doings, our dealings in Western capitalism, that basically says that the sky is the limit. Infinite growth model, right? That we, and some transhumanists even believe that, we as a people are going to be able to invent life extension and live forever. And in the same way, we have this understanding this flawed understanding that our civilization, or Western civilization, is going to last forever, when it simply will not. Maybe not Western civilization, but the American domination of the world is going to last forever. And the reason why it can't is because almost inherently, by physics, by definition, you can't maintain a strong society unless you're in a perpetual state of war. Now, this is just my theory. I don't think war is good. I'm not a warmonger. I don't believe in the military-industrial complex. It's just a thought I had that men in decadent times become very weak. And the sons of rich, wealthy men tend to become very weak in a lot of ways, unless they're raised by their parents to endure some form of hardship to remind them of the harsh, primitive realities of life and their visceral nature. Now, because we're living in this age of decadence, this cult of youth, where we want to be 15 years old forever, and nobody wants to do anything tough. We live in a sanitized world, which is sterile and clean, and the slightest breeze blows the toughest guy who walks out of the gym over, because in spite of his musculature, he's never actually endured any hardship. And I have endured hardship, by the way. Yes, Marshall, you want attention, I know. Just hang on a second. So, because we cannot no longer, that I need to say not no longer, because we're running out of people to go and hunt down and make enemies with, and because war and combat is becoming more remote and far removed from the people on the front lines, now it's just drones and guys playing video games from bunkers controlling all these robots. Obviously, there's still a lot of frontline stuff that goes on, and I'm not saying that there's not a lot of special forces out there and that actually go and engage with other combatants. But by and large, war has become far more removed from what it once was, and thus the killing has become a lot easier. Read the book On Killing. It's an excellent book and breaks down how throughout the history of combat it's become far more remote, and it's not in our nature to necessarily kill and do things of that nature, but we're forced to because of the military-industrial complex and all the rest. So if there's no one left to fight, and there still are people left to fight, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you have bread and circuses, which makes men weak. And you cannot remain strong if technology makes you weak. It's just you can't have both. You can't have both things. You can't have strong men and I say men because whatever, it is what it is. Strong women too, in different ways, not physical ways. I should be saying strong people because that's the more appropriate word. So I do apologize. I don't mean that to, cater to feminists or anything like that. I actually do believe it requires strength in both sexes. So you can't have a strong people who have no struggles, because it's only from struggle that appreciation for what you have is earned, and that you continue to stay hungry and you continue to want to keep expanding, even though the expansivist mindset is now flawed, because it was relevant for the first 10,000 years when there were still lands to move into, but it no longer is relevant anymore, because the world, we've turned over every stone pretty much in the world. There's no new lands to discover. It's just now a constant overthrowing of each other. So at some point we need to break out of this paradigm. And I do think that the American Empire may be that paradigm, which is the last. Now, it's got to come to some kind of crashing halt. I don't think it's going to be a smooth transition into the new world of things, into the singularity, for lack of better words. I don't know what to call it. The converging of all these different technologies, genetics, nanotech, the digital world, artificial intelligence, cloning, all these things. Okay, so when all these things converge in the future at some point, and the surveillance society that surrounds that and enwraps that and ensures that we're all compliant with whatever is given to us, I can't see it being a slow, gradual, incremental thing. It seems like, I know that's not really an argument, but it does seem like it's going to have to come to some abrupt collapse, or there's just going to be one final world war, and then out of the ashes of that, something new is going to be tried and created, because this capitalist system will have proven to be just as flawed as its communist sister, right? But you can't have a strong society with weak men, and because strength through all of human history has been defined by combat and war, and because there is no more combat besides domestic combat, which Mr. Jones used to rave about. He used to talk about police state and how once there's nowhere to point the guns outward anymore, the guns get turned inwards domestically, because you got guns, you got to use them on somebody, right? So, but I think there's going to be one last clash, and nobody lives forever. No corporation lives forever. The Dow Jones ain't going to keep going up forever. Not within this paradigm. Now, if we invent the interstellar warp drive and we have the capability to make infinite amounts of robots that can go and mine infinite amounts of planets, then maybe we transcend. But so long as we're locked into the planetary level of existing, this system is going to burn itself out. It has to, guys. 20 trillion. There's a clock that shows you the debt. Now, I know the debt has no real material reflection in the real world, other than the fact that somehow money is owed to some people, right? I know there's no... I mean, the stuff has already been made. Everything's already been produced. Labor has already been invested. So who owns all this debt? Well, we all know who owns all the debt. The banker class, the people we never see. And it's more complicated than that, but by and large, that's what it is. So even though that's fictitious, as fictitious as it is, it has real life consequences which are going to come about. I got 40 seconds to wrap this up. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I need to say to get my points across here. Anyways, what do you guys think about this theory? I'm sure it's a theory in sociology or anthropology, political science, perhaps. This Klingon-like state of existence that we've been forced to lead right now. I think it's got to come crashing down. And the next paradigm, it cannot be based on the same warlike principles, but there also must be, if we want it to last into perpetuity forever, then there also needs to be a way that we don't get soft and we don't just turn into these amorphous blobs that float around in hover chairs while robots wipe our asses. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.
The best way to support this YouTube channel is to support yourself by gearing up through CanadianPreparedness.com or BugoutRoll.ca. Premium quality gear at the best possible price using the incredibly secure and easy to use Shopify platform. We offer free shipping to the United States for orders over $200 USD and free shipping to Canada over $75. So support the channel by supporting yourself.